All glories to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila, Chapter 24, Text 192. Tesham satata yuktanam rajatam priti purvakam vadami bodhi yugam tam yenamam upyanti te yenamam upayanti te. Those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is a quote from Bhagavad Gita 10.10. 193. Satsanga Krishna Seva Bhagavata Nama Rajeva Sa E Pancha Sarana Pradana. To be elevated to the platform of devotional service, the following 5 items should be observed: association with the devotees, engagement in the service of Lord Krishna, the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting of the holy names, and the residence of Vrindavan or Mathura. 194. Ei pancha madhye eka svapayadihaya subhuji jane rahaya Krishna premodaya. One's dormant love for Krishna gradually awakens if one is a little advanced in one of these 5 items and is intelligent. 195. Duruhad bhutta viryesmin shraddha stu panchake yatra svalpo pisambanda sadhiyam bhava janmane. The power of these 5 principles is very wonderful and difficult to understand. Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can awaken his dormant love for Krishna simply by being a little connected with them. This is a verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.238. 196. Udara mahati yandra swarotama buddhi nanakame bhajetabu kaya bhakti siddhi. If a person is actually liberal and intelligent, he can advance and become perfect in devotional service, even if he has material desires and serves the Lord with some motive. 197. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajete purusham param. Whether one desires everything or nothing, or whether he desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental loving service. This is a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10. 198. Bhakti prabhavase kama chadhana Krishna pade bhakti karaya gune akarsiya. Devotional service is so strong that when one engages in it, he gradually gives up all material desires and becomes fully attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna. All this is brought about by attraction for the transcendental qualities of the Lord. 199. Satyam dishyat jartitam artito nuram naivarta doyat punar artita yata swayam virate bhajatam anichatam ichapirhanam nija pada palavam. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 5.19.27. Atma sabde svabhava kahitate ye rame Atma rama jivayata stabhara jangame. Another meaning of the word Atma is one's characteristic nature. Whoever enjoys his particular type of nature is called Atma Rama. Therefore, all living entities, be they moving or non-moving, are also called Atma Rama. 201. Jivera svabhava Krishna dasa abhimana dehe atma jnane achadite se jnana. The original nature of every living entity is to consider himself the eternal servant of Krishna. But under the influence of Maya, he thinks himself to be the body, and thus his original consciousness is covered. 202. Shasabde eva api sabda samuchaye Atmarama eva hana Shri Krishna bhajaye. In that case, by the word cha, the word eva is meant. The word api can be taken in the sense of aggregation. Thus the verse would read Atmarama eva, that is, even all kinds of living beings worship Krishna. Purport. It is here mentioned that every living entity is Atma Rama. Temporarily covered by the influence of Maya, the living entity serves his senses, which are represented as Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. In the material condition, all living entities are engaged in sense gratification. But when they associate with devotees who follow the regulative principles, they become purified and awaken to their original consciousness. Then they attempt to satisfy the senses of Lord Krishna and engage in his devotional service. 203. Ei jiva sanakari sabamuni jana nirgranta murka nicha stavara pasugana. Living entities include great personalities like the four Kumaras, and also low-class foolish people, trees, plants, birds, and beasts. 204. Vyasashuka sanakadira prashadiha bhajana nirgranta stavaradhira suna vivarana. The devotional service of Vyasa, Shuka, and the four Kumaras has already been well celebrated. Now let me explain how immovable living entities like trees and plants engage in the Lord's devotional service. 205. Krishna kripadi hetu hoite sabhara udaya Krishna guna krishtahana kanhare bhajaya. Everyone is eligible to receive Krishna's mercy, including Vyasadeva, the four Kumaras, Shukadev Goswami, low-born creatures, trees, plants, and beasts. By Krishna's mercy, they are elevated and engaged in his service. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.32, wherein the Lord says, Namhi parta vyaspasritya, yei pishu papayonya, striyo vraisyas tata sudras, tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, Those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Sudras, merchants or workers, can attain the supreme destination. Everyone is eligible to become Krishna's devotee. One simply has to be trained according to the approved process. It is the work of Krishna's confidential devotees to turn everyone into Krishna Bhakta. If the confidential devotees do not take up the task of elevating everyone to Krishna consciousness, then who will do it? Those who claim to be devotees but do not engage in Krishna service to elevate all living creatures to Krishna consciousness are to be considered Kanishta Adhikaris, people in the lowest stage of devotional service. When one rises to the second platform of devotional service, his business is to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. Those who are active in the Krishna consciousness movement should not remain in the neophyte stage, but should rise to the platform of preachers, the second platform of devotional service. Devotional service is so enchanting that even the first-class devotees, Uttama Adhikaris, also come down to the second platform to preach and render service to the Lord for the benefit of the whole world. For the benefit of the whole world. 206. Taranyayam Adya Tarani Trina Virudhastvat Padas Prashodhuma Lata Karaja Bimrishta Radyodraya Kagha Raga Sadaya Valokayer Gopyo Nitrena Bhujayor Apiyat Svara Shri. This land of Vrindavan, Brajabhumi, is glorified today because your lotus feet have touched her earth and grass. Your fingernails have touched her trees and creepers, and your merciful eyes have glanced upon her rivers, hills, birds, and beasts. The gopis have been embraced by your arms, and even the goddess of fortune desires this. Now all of these are glorified. Purport. And this verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.15.8. Was spoken by Krishna to Sri Balaram. 207. Gopakar anubanam nayatur udara venus fanar kala padais tanu brushtu sakkaya apshandanam gati matam pulakas tarunam yoga pasha kritalak shanayor vichitram. My dear friend, Krishna and Balaram are passing through the forest leading their cows with their cowherd boyfriends. They both carry ropes with them at the time of milking. They bind the rear legs of the cows. When they play on their flutes, all moving living entities are stunned, and non-moving living entities experience ecstatic jubilation by their sweet music. All these things are certainly very wonderful. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.21.19. As Krishna wandered in the forest with Baladev, and the two of them wonderfully played their flutes, all the gopis became very much attracted. Thus they praised the Lord's activities, describing how he was enthusing all the plants, birds, hills, water, and everything. 208. Manalatastarava Atmani Vishnu Yanjayantya Iva Pushpa Pala Tyaha Pranata Bharavitapa Madhudaraha Premahrishta Tannavo Bhavrushu Sama. The plants, creepers, and trees were full of fruits and flowers due to ecstatic love of Krishna. Indeed, being so full, they were bowing down. They were inspired by such deep love for Krishna that they were constantly pouring showers of honey. In this way, the gopis saw all of the forests of Vrindavan. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.35.9. For an explanation, see Madhya Lila 8.276. 209. Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pukasha Abhira Sumba Yavana Kasadayaha Yenye Chapapayad Upasrasrayaha Subhyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishinhavinamaha. Kiratas, Hunas, Andharas, Pulindas, Pukashas, Abhiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, and members of the Kasa races, and even others who are addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. 210. Agetera artha karilun arachaya e unavimshati arthaha ila mili dui. I have already spoken about 13 meanings of the Atmarama verse. Now there are 6 more. Combined, these make 19. Purport. The 6 further meanings of the verse are based on the following meanings of the word Atmarama. 1. Mental speculators. 1. Mental speculators. Bide, verse 165. 2. Those engaged in different types of endeavor. Bide, verse 168. 3. Those who are patient and sober. Bide, verse 174. 4. Those who are intelligent and learned scholars. Bide, verse 187. 5. Those who are intelligent but illiterate and foolish. Bide, verse 187. And 6. Those who are conscious of their eternal servitorship to Krishna. Bide, verse 201. 211. Ehi unisa artha karilu agesuna ara atma sabde hakahe chari artha tara. I have already explained 19 different meanings. Now please hear further meanings. The word Atma also refers to the body, and this can be taken in 4 ways. The 4 divisions of the meanings of the word Deha, body, are 1. Aupadika Brahmadeha, the material body considered as Brahman with designations, 5 verse 212. 2. Karmanista Yajankira, Karma Deha. Karmanista Yajanikera Karma Deha, the body engaged in ritualistic ceremonies of Vedic injunctions, 5 verse 214. 3. Tapodeha, the body engaged in austerities and penances, 5 verse 216. And 4. Sarva Kamadeha, the body engaged for the satisfaction of all kinds of material desires, 5 verse 218. 212. Deharami dehe baje deho padhi brahma satsange se hakare krishnera bhajana. One in the bodily conception worships his own body as Brahman, but when he comes in contact with a devotee, he gives up this mistaken idea and engages himself in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. 213. Udaram upashate yarishi vartmashu korpadrisha harisara parhatim hridayam arunayo dhaharam tatha udha gad ananta tava tamashira paramam punariha yat samtiya na padanti kritanta mukhe. Those who follow the path of great saintly mystic yogis take to the yogic gymnastic process and begin worshipping from the abdomen, where it is said that Brahman is located. Such people are called sarkaracha, which means that they are situated in the bodily conception. in the gross bodily conception. There are also followers of the rishi known as Aruna. Following his path, they observe the activities of the arteries. Thus, they gradually rise to the heart, where the subtle Brahman Paramatma is situated. They then worship him. O unlimited Ananta, better than these persons are the mystic yogis who worship you from the top of their heads. Beginning with the abdomen, proceeding through the heart, they reach the top of the head and pass through the Brahma Randra, the hole at the top of the skull. Thus these yogis attain the perfectional platform and do not enter the cycle of birth and death again. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.87.18. 214. Teharami karmani stai hagi kadhijana satsange karma tyaji karaya bhajana. Those who are in the bodily conception mainly engage in fruitive activity. Those who perform yagyas and ritualistic ceremonies are also considered in the same category. However, when such persons come in contact with the pure devotee, they give up their fruitive activity and fully engage in service of the Lord. 215. Karmanyasmin anavashe dhuma dhumrat manam pavan apayayati govinda padha padmasavam maru. We have just begun performing this fruitive activity, a sacrificial fire, but due to the many imperfections in our action, we are not certain of its result. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Govinda, which you are distributing. Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.18.12 was spoken to Sutta Goswami at the meeting of great sages at Naimisranya. The great sages were headed by Saunaka, and Sutta Goswami was speaking of the glorious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at that meeting. At that time, all the rishis assembled there neglected to complete their ritualistic ceremonies because there was no positive assurance of the results. Although the performers were coated with black ash due to the large amount of smoke coming from the fire. 216. Tapasvi pravriti yata deharami tapasvi pravriti yata deharami haya sadhu sange tapachari Sri Krishna bhajaya. The tapasvis, those who undergo severe austerities and penances to elevate themselves to the higher planetary systems, are also in the same category. When such persons come in contact with a devotee, they give up all practices and engage in Lord Krishna's service. 217. Yat paraseva viruchis tapasvinam rasesha janmopachutam malamhiyaha sadhyachino chanvaham edati sati yatha param gusta vinhishruta sarit. The taste for loving service is like the water of the river Ganges, which flows from the feet of Lord Krishna. Every day that taste diminishes, the results of sinful activities acquired over a period of many births by those who perform austerities. This quote is from Srimad Bhagavatam 4.21.31. Text 218. Deharami sarvakama sabha atma rama Krishna kripaya Krishna bhaje chari sabha kama. As long as one labors under the bodily conception, he must fulfill volumes and volumes of material desires. Thus a person called Atmarama, when such an Atmarama is favored by the mercy of Krishna, He gives up this so-called self-satisfaction and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. 219. Stanhabilasi tapasi stitoham sampraptavan deva munindra guyam kacham vichindhanapi divyaratanam swamin kritartosmi varam dhayache. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very difficult for the demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore I am so satisfied that I do not wish to take any benediction from you." This verse is from the Hari Bhakti Sudohaya 7.28. 220. Ehi chari artha saha hayila tesha artha aratina artha suna arama samartha. In addition to the 19 meanings of the verse mentioned previously, there are these 4 further meanings when the word Atmarama is taken to mean those laboring under the bodily conception. This brings the total to 23. Now hear of another 3 meanings which are very suitable. Purport. The 3 further meanings of the verse are understood when 1. The word cha is taken to mean in due course. 2. The word cha is taken to mean eva, and the word api to mean censure. And 3. The word nirgrantha is taken to mean one who is very poor without money. 221. Chashabe samuchaye ara artha kaya atmaramascha munayas cha krishnera bhaja. Atmaramascha manuyas cha krishnera bhajaya. As mentioned above, the word cha can be used to mean aggregate. According to this meaning, all the Atmaramas and Munis engage in Krishna's service. Besides aggregate, there is another meaning of the word cha. 222. Nirgrantahana ihan api nirdharane ramascha krishnascha yata viharayevane. The word nirgrantha can be used as an adjective, and api can be used in the sense of certainty. For instance, Ramascha Krishnascha means that both Rama and Krishna enjoy walking in the forest. Purport. Because it is said that both Rama and Krishna enjoy wandering in the forest, it is understood that both of them are enjoying their tour within the forest. 223. Shasabe anvachaye artha kahe ara Bhato bhikshamata gamchanna yavaiche prakara. The word cha can also present a secondary thing to be done at the same time. This way of understanding the word cha is called anvachaye. An example is, O brahmachari, go out to collect alms and at the same time bring in the cows. 224. Krishna mana ne muni Krishne sarvada bhajaya atma rama api bhaje kona arthakaya. Saintly persons who are always meditating upon Krishna are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. The Atma Ramas are also engaged in the Lord's service. That is the indirect import. Purport. The anvachaye meaning of the word cha indicates that between the 2 words compounded by the word cha, one is given more importance and the other is considered subordinate. For example, O brahmachari, please go out and collect the alms and at the same time bring in the cows. This statement, the collection of alms, is of first importance. The second business of collecting cows is subordinate. Similarly, one who always meditates upon Krishna is a devotee of Krishna engaged in his devotional service. Other Atmaramas are subordinate in the devotional service. 225. Cha evarte munhaya eva krishnera bhajaya atma rama api api varha artakaya. The word cha can also be used to indicate the certainty that only saintly persons are engaged in rendering devotional service to Krishna. In the combination atmarama api, api is used in the sense of censure. 226. Nirgrantahana ei dunhara visheshana ara artha sunayaiche sadhura sangama. The word nirgrantha can be taken as an adjective, modifying muni and atmarama. There is another meaning, which you may hear from me, indicating association with a devotee. Now I shall explain how it is that, through the association of devotees, even a nirgrantha can become a devotee. 227. Nirgrantha sabhe kahe tabe vyadha nirhandana sadhu sange se hakare Shri Krishna bhajana. The word nirgrantha, when combined with api, used in the sense of certainty, indicates a person who is a hunter by profession or who is very poor. Nonetheless, when such a person associates with a great saint like Narada, he engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service. 228. Krishna Ramascha eva haya Krishna manana Yadhahana haya puja bhagavatotama. The words Krishna Ramascha refer to one who takes pleasure in thinking of Krishna. Even though such a person may be a hunter, he is still worshipable and is the best of devotees. Eka bhakta vyadhera katta suna savadhane yaha hoite haya satsanga mahimara jnane. I shall now narrate the story of how a hunter became a great devotee by the association of such an exalted personality as Narada Muni. From this story one can understand the greatness of the association with pure devotees. Ekadina Srinarada Deki Narayana Triveni Snane Prayaga Karila Gamana. Once upon a time, the great Saint Narada, after visiting Lord Narayana in the Vaikuntras, went to Prayag to bathe at the confluence of three rivers, the Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati. Purport: the great Saint Narada is so liberated that he can go to the Vaikuntha planets to see Narayana, and then immediately come to this planet in the material world and go to Prayag to bathe in the confluence of the three rivers. The word Triveni refers to a confluence with three rivers. This confluence is still visited by many hundreds of thousands of people who go there to bathe, especially during the Magha Mela, which occurs during the month of January. A liberated person who has no material body can go anywhere and everywhere. Therefore, a living entity is called Svarga, which indicates that he can go anywhere and everywhere. Presently, scientists are trying to go to other planets, but due to their material bodies, they are not free to move at will. However, when one is situated in his original spiritual body, he can move anywhere and everywhere without difficulty. Within this material world, there is a planet called Siddhaloka, whose inhabitants can go from one planet to another without the aid of a machine or space rocket. In the material world, every planet has a specific advantage, Vibhuti Bina. In the spiritual world, however, all the planets and their inhabitants are composed of spiritual energy. Because there are no material impediments, it is said that everything in the spiritual world is one. 231. Vanapate deke mrga ache bhume pari vanavidha bhagna para kare dhadhari. Narada Muni saw that a deer was lying on the path of the forest and that it was pierced by an arrow. It had broken legs and was twisting due to much pain. 232. Arakata dure eka dekhena sukara tarche vidha bhagna para kare dadpada. Farther ahead, Narada Muni saw a boar pierced by an arrow. Its legs were also broken, and it was twisting in pain. 233. Arche eka sashaka deke arakata dure jithera duka deki nara davyakulantare. When he went further, he saw a rabbit that was also suffering. Narada Muni was greatly pained at heart to see living entities suffer so. 234. Kata dure deke vyara vrikshe ontahana Mrgamari bare ache bana yudhiya. When Narada Muni advanced farther, he saw a hunter behind a tree. This hunter was holding arrows and he was ready to kill more animals. 235. Shama varna rakta netra mahabhayankara tanurbana haste yena yama dandadhara. The hunter's body was blackish. He had reddish eyes and he appeared fierce. It was as if the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, were standing there with a bow and arrows in his hands. 236. Atachari narada tara nikate chalila nara de kimrga sabapala gela. When Narada Muni left the forest path and went to the hunter, all the animals immediately saw him and fled. 237. Krudhahana vyadha tamre gali dite chaya narada prabhave mukhi gali nahiyaya. When all the animals fled, the hunter wanted to chastise Narada with abusive language, but due to Narada's presence, he could not utter anything abusive. 238. Goshani prayana pata chari kene aila toma deki mora laksha murga palaila. The hunter addressed Narada Muni, O Goswami, O great saintly person, why have you left the general path through the forest and come to me? Simply by seeing you, all the animals I was hunting have now fled. 239. Narada kahe pata bhuli ailana puchite bhane eka samshaya hayataha khandaite. Narada Muni replied, leaving the path, I have come to you to settle a doubt that is in my mind. 240. Pateyeshu karamriga jani tomarahaya yadha kahe kaha seita nishchaya. I was wondering whether all the boars and other animals that are half killed belong to you. The hunter replied, yes. What you are saying is so. 241. Narada kaheyade jive maratumi bhana arda marakara kene nala uparana. Narada Muni then inquired, why did you not kill the animals completely? Why did you half kill them by piercing their bodies with arrows? 242. Yadhakahe sunagoshani mrigadi moranama pitara sikshate yami kareyache kama. The hunter replied, my dear saintly person, my name is Mrigari, enemy of the animals. My father taught me to kill them in that way. 243. Ardhamara jiva yadi dadpada kare Sarveta ananda mora badaye antare. When I see half-killed animals suffer, I feel great pleasure. 244. Narada kahe eke vastu magi tomhara stane yadha kahe mrugadi laha ye tomhara mane. Narada Muni then told the hunter, I have one thing to beg of you. The hunter replied, "You may take whatever animal or anything else you would like." 245. Mrigachala chahayari Aishamoragare Yei chahatahadiba Mrigavyagrambare. I have many skins. If you would like them, I shall give you either a deer skin or a tiger skin. 246. Narada kahe ihami kichu nahi chahi ara ekadana ami magito matani. Narada Muni said, "I do not want any of these skins. I am asking only one thing from you in charity." 247. Kali hoite tumi yei ragadi mariba Tratame mariba ardha marana kariba. I beg you that from this day on you will kill animals completely and not leave them half dead. 248. Yadha kahe kibadana magila amare ardha marila kiba hayataha kahamore. The hunter replied, "My dear sir, what you are asking of me, what is wrong with the animals lying there half killed? Will you please explain this to me?" 249. Narada kahe ardha marile jiva paya vyata jive dukkha dite cha tomara haiva aiche avasta. Narada Muni replied, "If you leave the animals half dead, you are purposely giving them pain. Therefore, you will have to suffer the retaliation." Purport. This is an authoritative statement given by the greatest authority, Narada Muni. If one gives another living entity unnecessary pain, one will certainly be punished by the laws of nature with a similar pain. Although the hunter Mrigari was uncivilized, he still had to suffer the results of his sinful activities. However, if a civilized man kills animals regularly in a slaughterhouse to maintain his so-called civilization, using scientific methods and machines to kill animals, one cannot even estimate the suffering awaiting him. So-called civilized people consider themselves very advanced in education, but they do not know about the stringent laws of nature. According to nature's law, it is a life for a life. We can hardly imagine the sufferings of one who maintains a slaughterhouse. He endures suffering not only in this life, but in his next life also. It is said that a hunter, murderer, or killer is advised not to live and not to die. If he lives, he accumulates even more sins, which bring about more suffering in a future life. He is advised not to die because his dying means that he immediately begins to endure more suffering. Therefore, he is advised not to live and not to die. As followers of Vedic principles, we accept the statements of Narada Muni in this regard. It is our duty to see that no one suffers due to sinful activities. Foolish rascals are described in Bhagavad Gita as Mayaya Paharita Janaha, which indicates that they are superficially educated. Maya has taken their real knowledge away. Such people are presently leading human society. In Srimad Bhagavatam, they are described as Anta Yatandar Upaniyamana. These rascals are themselves blind, and yet they are leading others who are blind. When people follow such leaders, they suffer unlimited pains in the future. Despite so-called advancement, all this is happening. Who is safe? Who is happy? Who is without anxiety? 250. Yadhatumi jivamara alpa apardha tomara kadartana diyamara epapa apara. Narada Muni continued, "My dear hunter, your business is killing animals. That is a slight offense on your part. But when you consciously give them unnecessary pain by leaving them half dead, you incur very great sins." Purport. This is another good instruction to animal killers. There are always animal killers and animal eaters in human society because less civilized people are accustomed to eating meat. In the Vedic civilization, meat eaters are advised to kill an animal for the goddess Kali or a similar demigod. This is in order not to give the animal unnecessary pain as a slaughterhouse does. In the Bali Dana, sacrifice to a demigod, it is recommended to cut the throat of an animal with one slice. This should be done on a dark moon night, and the painful noises expressed by the animal at the time of being slaughtered are not to be heard by anyone. There are also many other restrictions. Slaughter is allowed only once a month, and the killer of the animal has to suffer similar pains in his next life. At the present moment, so-called civilized men do not sacrifice animals to a deity in a religious or ritualistic way. They openly kill animals daily by the thousands for no other purpose than the satisfaction of the tongue. Because of this, the entire world is suffering in so many ways. Politicians are unnecessarily declaring war, and according to the stringent laws of material nature, massacres are taking place between nations. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are actually carried. Thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita 3.27. The laws of Prakriti, nature, are very stringent. No one should think that he has the freedom to kill animals and not suffer the consequences. One cannot be safe by doing this. Narada Muni herein says that animal killing is offensive, especially when animals are given unnecessary pain. Meat eaters and animal killers are advised not to purchase meat from the slaughterhouse. They can worship Kali once a month, kill some unimportant animal, and eat it. Even by following this method, one is still an offender. $251. Kadhartiya tumiyata marila jivere tara taiche to mamaribe janma janmanantare. Narada Muni continued, all the animals that you have killed and given unnecessary pain will kill you one after the other in your next life and in life after life. This is another authoritative statement made by the great sage Narada. Those who kill animals and give them unnecessary pain, as people do in slaughterhouses, will be killed in a similar way in the next life and in many lives to come. One can never be excused from such an offense. If one kills many thousands of animals in a professional way so that other people can purchase meat to eat, one must be ready to be killed in a similar way in his next life and in life after life. There are many rascals who violate their own religious principles. According to Judeo-Christian scriptures, it is clearly stated, "Thou shalt not kill." Nonetheless, giving all kinds of excuses, even the heads of religions indulge in killing animals while trying to pass as saintly persons. This mockery and hypocrisy in human society brings about unlimited calamities. Therefore, occasionally, there are great wars. Masses of such people go out at the battlefields and kill themselves. Presently, they have discovered the atomic bomb, which is simply waiting to be used for the wholesale destruction. If people want to be saved from killing business life after life, they must take the Krishna consciousness and cease sinful activity. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness recommends that everyone abandon meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. When one gives up these sinful activities, he can understand Krishna and take to this Krishna consciousness movement. We therefore request everyone to abandon sinful activity and chant the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way, people can save themselves from repeated birth and death, and from being killed like the animals in slaughterhouses. Thus ends our reading for today. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Madhava Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Bhakti Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Haribol. Hare Krishna.